There is a specific warmth that comes through the grip of handlebars that have been ridden in August sun for 20 minutes. Not hot, warm. The way a living thing is warm. You know the difference. You've always known the difference between metal that is just metal and metal that somehow carries something of you inside it. Not everyone notices that. But you do. And the fact that you do, that's actually the beginning of what we need to talk about today. Let's be precise about what's actually happening when you give a machine a name. Because it's easy to dismiss. People do. It's just a bike. They say it lightly, and they mean it lightly. And that lightness tells you something important, not about the bike, but about them. What you are doing is not quirky. It is not sentimental in a soft, harmless way. What you are doing is a form of self-extension. A concept first mapped by consumer psychologist Russell Belk in 1988. The idea is this. Human beings don't experience a clean boundary between self and possession. Under certain conditions, an object stops being something you have and becomes something you are. The motorcycle doesn't just carry your body through space. It carries your sense of who you are through time. Which raises a question almost no one thinks to ask. What does it mean when the thing that carries your identity has a name? You know exactly what this looks like from the inside. It's not just the name itself. It's the grammar around the name. You don't say, the bike needs an oil change. You say she's due for a service. You don't say, my motorcycle stalled. You say, he's been acting up. You correct people gently, but definitely when they call it it. You talk to it in the garage, not always in full sentences. Sometimes just a sound, an acknowledgement. The way you'd acknowledge a dog that walked into the room. When something goes wrong mechanically, there's a specific quality to your worry, not just the cost, not just the inconvenience, something closer to concern. The same low-frequency anxiety you'd carry for anything that matters to you. And when the ride is right, when the road opens up, and the engine note sits exactly where it should, and your hands are loose, and you are, somehow, not thinking about anything, you feel grateful. Not to luck, to it. You probably don't say that out loud very often, but you feel it. Here is what's actually happening underneath all of that. Human beings need continuity. We need something that was there yesterday, is here today, and will be there tomorrow. Something that doesn't change its mood based on yours. Something that responds to you reliably, mechanically, honestly, because a machine cannot perform. It either runs or it doesn't. It gives you back exactly what you put in. In a world where relationships are complicated, where people leave, where feelings are hidden, where trust is built slowly and broken suddenly, there is something almost revolutionary about an object that is simply, consistently there. Psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott spent decades studying what he called transitional objects, the things we hold on to when the world feels uncertain. The child's blanket isn't just comfort, it's proof that the self has edges, that there is a you that persists even when other people aren't watching. The motorcycle, for the person who names it, functions in a structurally similar way. It is a proof of self. It knows your weight. It knows your riding style, the way you brake slightly early, the way you lean with your whole torso, the small hesitations that no one else would read as anything, but that the machine registers faithfully. It holds an archive of who you have been on every road you've taken together. And when you name it, you are not being irrational. You are being completely, deeply accurate about what that object has become. There is a larger question living inside this behavior, and it's worth naming directly. People who form deep relationships with meaningful objects, motorcycles, guitars, the specific pen that always feels right, the jacket that's been with them through everything, tend to understand something about identity that our culture spends enormous effort trying to obscure. Identity is not internal. It is not a private, invisible thing that lives only in your thoughts. Identity is enacted. It is performed daily through the choices you make about what you carry, what you ride, what you keep, what you refuse to replace with something newer and shinier simply because it's easier. When you name your motorcycle, you are making a statement about the kind of relationship you believe is possible between a person and the world they move through. You are saying, things can matter. Not everything, but some things. And when they matter, they deserve to be recognized. That is not sentimentality. That is a philosophy of life. There is another kind of rider. They maintain their bike meticulously. They know the specs. They upgrade when better technology arrives. When it's time to sell, they sell cleanly, without ceremony. And they move to the next machine with the same focused competence they brought to the last one. For them, the motorcycle is a precision instrument, a remarkable piece of engineering to be understood, optimized, and eventually replaced. They feel satisfaction when it performs well. They feel frustration when it doesn't, but they don't feel about it the way you do. They would read this entire script with polite curiosity and a faint sense of distance, the way you might read about a tradition from a culture not quite your own. Interesting, coherent, just not yours. They are not wrong to feel that distance. And you are not wrong to name the machine that has carried you through every difficult year of the last decade. Neither is wrong, but they are very different kinds of people, and they move through the world differently. Here is what I've noticed about people who name their motorcycles, and who name their guitars, their boats, their cameras, the objects they have carried through their lives with intention. They tend to be better at grief, not because they feel less, the opposite, because they have spent years practicing the acknowledgement that things end, that relationships, even with objects, have a weight and a history and a final day. They have already learned, in small doses, that love and loss are not opposites. They are the same act seen from different distances. They know, in a way that takes some people decades of heartbreak to understand, that the right response to something mattering is not to hold it loosely. It is to hold it honestly, to know its name, to say it out loud, and to ride for as long as you have the road.